In this section, we're going to extend our automated stock analysis workflow by giving the agents in the workflow access to tools. We'll be taking advantage of a large language model's abilities to call into a function when needed as a way to get access to tools. This greatly extends the agent's abilities and is very powerful. So let's start with the motivating example. In our AI analyst team, the AI does not have access to any real-time information about the stock being analyzed. What if we wanted to get all the financial metrics like PE or debt ratios? How would we provide that information? Or how about valuation or price targets, news, earnings, and transcripts, all these things? This is where the ability for the AI to use tools becomes so powerful. By telling the AI what tools can be used and when to use it, we can give the AI ability to access all this information. For this illustration, we're going to be using a service called Financial Modeling Prep that can provide all kinds of information for stock analysis. So what we're going to do is use the different function calls within this website to act as tools, and we will be able to use that to retrieve information to augment or to add to our reports. For this financial modeling prep site, there's also a very nice free tier that can be used to start with this workflow. And as usual, what you'll need to do is go to the site in here, and then register, and then create an API key. All right, so once you create the API key, then we'll be able to use that within our workflow as a tool. So let's walk through a little bit now what we're going to build. So we're going to be giving our research agents access to the financial ratios information for stocks from this financial modeling prep service. All right, so this is the tool that we will be building. So what's going to happen is when it is executed, it's going to take settings. So the API key that we have created will come from here. It will then call the API or the function call that has the information that we need, and then it's going to return the value. And what we're going to do is within our workflow, we're going to give it access. We're going to call it financial metrics tool here, and then we're going to associate that to the senior research analyst. And then we're also going to give the researchers at work also access to this tool. So that's what we're going to build, and it'll give you a sense of how powerful this tool is. Now, before we do that, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the financial model prep service, just to give you a flavor of how extensive and how powerful this tooling capability can be. All right, so we're in the site financialmodelingprep.com, and we are in the developer docs page. So you can see what kind of information that is available. So we'll be using information from in the statement analysis. We'll be using some key ratios, in this case, ratios for the trailing 12 months. So as you specify either annual or quarterly, you can have access to all this financial metrics information. And then there's also key metrics that you have access to here as well. Now, there's also some really cool information here about discounted cash flow. So you'll be able to get that access to that information, as well as company rating, historical rating, price targets as well. So you can pull the price target information within there as well. News, so any news about the company or in general news that can be used to help with some of the analysis. And then the project right after this will be earnings. So this earning transcript is quite powerful. So we'll be looking at this, and there's insights from analysts' interaction with the management team that is often very insightful in terms of understanding what are the key things that analysts are keying into for the analysis. So we will be able to get the earnings transcript as also a tool and incorporate that within our analysis. So there's a ton of information, and one of the really cool things about tool usage is that anything that you have here in terms of all the information that you would like to include can now be incorporated via the tooling mechanism. So really, really powerful. With that as the background, when now analysis workflow is run and the agents have access to a tool that connects to the financial modeling website, it will then contain information like this in the report that then provides insights about the key financial metrics with the AI doing analysis on these ratios. So let's go ahead and do the build. All right, so let's start building. So I'm going to go add a tool. So I'm going to add a custom n8n workflow tool. All right, so I'll select that and I will call it my financial metrics. All right, that's the name of this tool. And I'm going to tell it when to use this tool. Okay, so I'm going to tell the large language model, call this tool to get financial metrics for a stock ticker. So uh, that's how it knows what this tool does. Okay, so the workflow ID, I'm going to have my n8n custom tool within the same canvas as this workflow here. So I'll go ahead and copy the ID for this workflow and insert it here. And then I'm going to populate a response field, and then I'm going to pass into this tool the ticker that I would like um, the financial metrics to be collected, right? So this will be passed into my tool. So I'll go add value, and I'm going to say ticker or add name, and then I'm going to pass into it my the settings here. So it's going to be the company string here. All right, so I will go ahead and add that in. So it will look like this. All right, so from my settings node, I'm going to get the company variable, right? So this tool will pass into it this company that I am getting information for. All right, so I'm going to just name this here, rename it as my financial metrics. Okay, so this is the call side. Now I want to figure out now how to invoke the tool that then calls into this API here that gets the financial information, right? So I'm going to add here a trigger, and this trigger is going to be execute workflow. Okay, so I'll add this in. So when called by another workflow, I want to trigger it. So I'll go into here. All right. So whenever the large language model wants financial metrics, I'm going to trigger here. All right. So then I'm going to now add my settings node. So the settings node, I'm going to name it my FMP settings. And then I'm going to add in here the variable value of API key. So then I'm going to just paste it and cut and paste my API key that I got from registering from the website, the financial modeling prep website. So I'll insert it here. And then next, I'm going to now use what's called a HTTP node. Okay, HTTP node. So this node is used to call into a HTTP endpoint. Okay, so in this case, I'll be using this endpoint here. So this endpoint is financial modeling prep, and then this API v3 ratios dash trailing 12 months TTM. So I will copy this and note how it's being called. Okay, so it's being called here All right, I'll copy this. So this is the endpoint, and then slash. This is the ticker. Okay, so the ticker, as you recall, we're passing that from the custom tool. So I will go ahead and add this in. So I'll add this in first. Okay, so what it's doing here is it's going to my execute trigger node, right? And then it's getting the ticker variable that is passed in, right? So just recall that I'm passing in a variable called ticker, and then I call the execute workflow trigger, this will have that value, and I'm just gonna uh, get that value from that node and put it as part of my URL call, right? And then lastly, for this, I need to look back at this uh, this call here, and what it'll tell me is that as part of the call, I'm going to need to put my API key right at the end. Okay, so let me just do that. All right, so I'm going to say at. So that is part of the syntax here. All right, so I'm going to specify at and then the API key. So API key, and this is from my previous node. I've set this key called API key. All right, so so this will call into this API, and then I will get that value back. Okay, so what I'll do next is, so I will uh, call into here. All right, I'm going to add a edit field, and then I'm going to create a response tag, and then the value of that is uh, the output from the previous node. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of magic here. So this says from the previous node, there's going to be a JSON object. So kind of what this returns is a JSON object, and then I'm going to return that as a string. All right. All right. Now I have to do one more thing before I can put this together end to end. But just a quick recap. So I've created a financial metrics tool that is a custom n8n workflow that then, when it recognizes it needs financial metrics, it will call into this execute workflow trigger. It'll get the API key that I've set here, and then it will call into this HTTP request that will go through the endpoint here that is provided by Financial Modeling Prep, and then it will return a response field. So I'll just rename this to response. All right, now I need to do one more thing before this can work. So in my prompt in the Senior Research Analyst, what I need to do is actually to tell it to use this tool. So I'm just going to add in here, I put here a Wikipedia tool, and then I'm going to put in here a prompt, add to this prompt to say, use financial metrics tool. So that's the one I just created to get the most up-to-date metrics for things like net debt to EBITDA, return on invested capital, PE ratio, and the like, right? So this is actually really important for the large language model to know that you want it to use a tool. Now, I also put into here an additional section here, balance sheet and income statement analysis. Okay, so as part of what I want the report to include, I've added this section here as well. So it's a balance sheet and income statement. So this will allow us to tell the large language model what it is that we want to analyze. All right, so let's go ahead now. I'll save this and then go ahead and run it. All right, so as before, it's getting into the SEC10K tool to do part of the planning for how to create this report. And then what we should see here is that in here, it'll also start being called. All right, so it's running. Yeah, see, it's being called here. Now, I'm just gonna let this go to the next node. And I'll stop at this next node. And what I realize here is that I need to make this tool also available to my agents. All right, so the specific research agents, I will just connect here, and now it has access to this tool as well. Now I'm going to go into the prompt here and just make sure that, yeah, so I've actually already added this where I'm telling the agents also when doing an analysis that requires financial ratios, use the available financial metrics tool, right? So it knows how to use the tool. All right, so let's go ahead and save it, and then I will run it from here. So I sped up the video just so that we can get through the workflow, but I can show you the end result. The report now has, in addition to the other components, it has the balance sheet and income statement analysis, and within that, it has all this ratios that it was able to get from the API that we called, right? So all this information, all this financial metrics is now incorporated into the report. So that's pretty cool. In this second project that we're going to do with tools, we're going to add a tool that will get earnings call. So at the end of a quarter, a company would have a earnings call with the analyst to discuss the results. So we're going to be using another API from the financial modeling prep.com, and inside here there's earnings transcript. So here's an example. So there is one for Apple in one of the quarters, and there's a transcript that that talks about the results. So there's an exchange of information between the management team and the analyst. So there's some really deep insights that can be gained through here. So what we're going to do is incorporate this information within our reports through the use of a tool. Now, we're going to use a similar approach, but because we already have this execute workflow tool enabled here, I'm going to use a slightly different approach and add in a call to a tool that is in a different workflow. All right. So what I'm going to do first is what I did similar to the financial metrics. I'm going to add a node here, and I'm going to say custom n8n workflow, and I'm going to call this a earnings transcript tool, and I'm going to tell it that this tool is useful to gain insight into the latest earnings transcript, especially the question and answer from analysts and company executives. And then I'm going to pass into this tool the ticker, and the value is going to be coming from the settings as before. All right. Now the workflow ID we'll get to later on. All right. So that is going to be the basis of our tool, and I'm going to call this my name is earnings transcript. Okay, so I will rename that, and so this this tool will now call into a n8n workflow that I'm going to define. So I will go ahead and create a new window, and inside this window, I'm going to add a new workflow, and inside this workflow, I'm going to start with a trigger. So very, very similar to what we did before. So in fact, let me just copy this. So I will go here, copy this, and just paste. Let's look at the API that we want. So back into the same provider of this information in the earnings transcript section, I can take a look at this endpoint. So everything is really the same as the previous project, but we have this earnings call transcript endpoint here. So I'll go ahead and copy this, and I will go back to my node here, and then just specify earnings call transcript. So we've done that already. And then the next thing is the ticker symbol. So the ticker symbol is going to come from here. It's going to get passed in as the function is called. Okay. So what I'm going to do is specify this in this way. So I will refer to the trigger node, right? And then so this will give me this will give me the symbol, and then what I'll need here is question mark and then year followed by quarter. All right. So I'm going to define in my settings 2 additional variables. Right. So I'm going to add in here year, and then add another field, and this is quarter. All right. So this year I'm going to say 2004 and fourth quarter. All right. So I am now going to put this information here, right? So let's take a look at here, right? So question mark and then year, and then followed by equals. All right, so question mark, year, equals, and then it's going to get information from the previous node dot year. All right, and then let's look at this next one. So ampersand quarter. So I will do that. Ampersand quarter, and then I will also use from the previous node dot quarter. All right, so this API key or this API endpoint will call into the earnings transcript. It will pass into the symbol that that comes from the workflow trigger. So this is the ticker, and then we're going to pass into the year and the quarter from the settings, and then I'm going to pass into here also the API key. All right, so that's it. That is going to be my that's gonna be my input here. All right. Okay, so let's try it out. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to replace this with a hard-coded value because I don't have it. I don't have that value before the tool is called. So I'll just replace it with NVIDIA for now. And then let me just execute this so that it gets this value, and then I will execute this. All right, so you can see here the content of the transcript. So this call happened on February 21st, 2024, and you can see all the information here. All right. So what I'm going to do is, for testing purposes, I'm just going to pin this data. So what this pin the data does is that I'm going to just save this data effectively, right? So that this node can be used, the value of the data from this node can be used for the next node. All right. So the reason I want to do this is because I want to provide a summary. All right. So I'm going to do a call to my large language model so that I can summarize and provide insight on the Q&A from the analyst and the management. So I will add a next node, right? So I'm going to go into here, into my AI nodes, use a basic large language model chain, and I'm going to define it here. And then here's my prompt. I'm going to say the following. All right, so let me just open this up. The following is an earnings transcript. Examine the transcript and summarize the key concerns from the questions that were asked by the analysts covering the earnings call and the management team's answer to the concerns. Okay, so then I'll take the transcript from the previous node. So let me just connect this first. All right, so I will delete this, and I will connect this to the previous node, and I will add into that my OpenAI chat model, put my credentials. I'll just use the GPT 3.5 Turbo, and let me see what this adds here. So the previous node, the content, so it will be provided here. All right, so let's try it. So I'm going to test this step. All right, so it's going to take all the content here, and it's going to look at the Q&A section of the earnings call, and it's going to provide the key concerns. So key concerns here, concerns about the evolution of data center and expectations for the calendar year, and then questions about NVIDIA's approach to product allocation. So it's a pretty good insight. You know, so it summarized that whole interaction through the earnings like this, right? So we've got the information that we want. And now we're going to set that in. All right, so I'm going to save this next as my transcript tool. And then I'm going to revert back this call so that it's dynamic, right? So I just hard coded it so that I can do some testing. So now I will change it back. So here, change this back so that it's dynamic, right? So it will get this from the trigger. All right, so that is my tool, and I'm going to make a note of this. So this is the workflow that I want to call, and I will go back. All right, I'll go back here, and then in the earnings transcript that we first started things with, there's a workflow ID. So I'm going to associate that workflow with the workflow that I just created, right? So this workflow here, earnings transcript tool. So let's just do a quick recap of what we just did, all right? So in the previous project, we created a tool with financial metrics, and it's calling directly, you can think of this as inline, it's inline tool right here. So whenever there's some metrics that it needs, it will call this tool. And then in this project, we've created a additional tool, and this tool we created as a separate flow. And the reason is because you can't have two inline tools, right? So if you want to have 3, 4, 5 tools within this this tool set here, you'll need to create it like what we did here. All right, so then what we did is we gave it a description, and then we passed into it a ticker, right, that we got from the settings. And then in here, when it detects that it needs insights from earnings, then it goes to the Exodus flow, and then we get the API key here, and then we call into the earnings transcript to get the information, and then we process this by asking it to look at the key concerns in the Q&A. All right, so that's how it flows. And now there's one important step that I still need to do, right? So in the prompt, what we need to do is tell it that it has this tool, right? So what I'm going to do is add within this prompt for the senior agent. I'm gonna in my detail summary say, all right, so use the earnings transcript tool to get insight into the analyst questions and management response. All right, so this tells it I've got a tool. This is a tool that I want to use, and then in the report itself, I want it to actually say, okay, now I want to use it, right? So I'm going to add into here insights from earnings transcript, right? That's going to be part of the report, and when it tries to get the report, it will know, or this information from the report, it will know to use the transcript tool from here. All right, so that's it. And then the other thing I'm going to do here is just copy this over, so that when I do the detailed research, this research team also has access to this tool, right? That's it. So I'm going to execute this, and I will fast forward it as I execute it, so that for the brevity purposes, and then after it finishes, we'll take a look at the file. All right, so it's finished running, and now I'm going to go to my Google Drive, and inside the report, there are this new section here called Insights from Earnings Transcripts. So take a look at what it's produced. The latest earnings call revealed insights from the Q&A between analysts and executives. So concerns were raised about product allocation, demand side dynamics, highlighting the challenges in a fair distribution with customer demand. So it talked about analysts trying to seek clarity on growth drivers, and discussion included the future usability of NVIDIA's investments and the adaptability of current infrastructure. So pretty solid extraction of the summary from the latest report, including some of the new stuff on the memory that NVIDIA is looking to use. So pretty powerful, right? So it's good to see that from this workflow, you can branch to multiple inclusions of that within your report. And when you look at all the different things that you can pull in, right? So we can also use exactly the same technique to pull in, information about price targets, right? So there's information about price targets here, as well as upgrades and downgrades about news, right? So anything in here can be pulled into this flow with this tool, right? So very, very powerful technique.